Hey guys, and welcome to my review for the First Doctor, the First Doctor stories, the First Doctor era in Classic Who. And I'm not entirely sure exactly what you'd want to call it, but this is everything all about the First Doctor. And I'm excited to get into it. It did take a while for me to compile all my thoughts and everything like that. Before we get started on that, I did want to give a couple of updates. I'm going to do this at the start of the video so you guys don't have to search if you don't care too much about the review or whatever, but about what's going on with, continuing with all of the Doctor Who universe reactions and everything like that. So I'm going to preface this by just saying like a quick little thing. So I had, in general, I've talked about this. I, obviously had a lighter schedule than usual planned for December, but I still had a bit of a schedule planned for December. There were a couple of things that I wanted to continue. There was a couple things that I was trying to find a good breaking point for a lot of stuff, all of that. And I basically said to myself, once kind of the holidays start, around, Christmas Eve, around that time, to, I would give myself a little bit of a break. I've been going pretty full force for a while. When I have an open slot, a lot of times I've been adding shows, and I do need a bit of a break from my channel, from editing, from a lot of stuff, just to, get my energy back up. You know what I mean? Like, this, it's just something that I feel like everybody needs a little bit of a break sometimes, to just recharge, basically. And so what I said to myself was I would base when I come back after that break, in the first couple of months, based off of whether either The Walking Dead or Doctor Who comes back. Because I had a feeling that both of those shows, they're big staples for my channel. They mean a lot to my channel. And both of those shows we're gonna come back within, the first couple of months or something like that. I know before it got announced that Doctor Who they just said early 2020, but I had a feeling it was early, because, they waited a full year, and I don't think if they pushed it back towards spring that people would be okay with that, you know what I mean? And then it gets announced. New Year's Day. I'm sure some of you are so excited, but I was like, son of a beach. I was so I was kind of hoping at least maybe a couple of weeks into January, give me a little bit of time to just sort out my life and just chill first. No, January 1st, Jess, January 1st. So let me talk to you guys about what the thing is. I had to kind of switch things around a little bit. There was some stuff that I was like, okay, I don't know if I could. Anyway, full disclosure, I will be away January 1st. I'm not gonna be here. I'm gonna be in New York. I'm gonna be visiting family. We, whenever we can, we try to all get together for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. So I was like, as soon as I saw that, I was like, well, I won't be here for that. Okay, so basically the update is I will be doing New Who, hopefully live and up to date. I'll come back early in January. Really wanted a break. But I said it was the deal I made myself. Doctor Who or Walking Dead, I'm gonna do that. But the first episode is, I'm not gonna react to it on New Year's Day. I won't be here. I'm gonna be spending time with my family. But so I will probably just do like a two-part, like a two-part reaction for both of the parts, because I believe the second part of the first episode, I believe, is going to be airing that Saturday. I'll be home by then, and I'll get that out to you that weekend, and then I should be up to date with that. Okay, so just so you guys know about that. Okay, and just I don't think anything's changed with my updates about continuing Classic Who, continuing Torchwood, but I'm just going to reiterate for those of you, especially, I had it in my head that I was like, I could do maybe the first second Doctor story in December. Like I could do that, but I'm going to push that aside now because of the fact that I'm not going to be taking time off in January like I predicted, so I'm going to lighten my schedule even more on December. You'll see some videos, like I've said in the past, I'm trying to find a good breaking point for everything, and this is a good breaking point for Classic Who. Okay, so I will start getting into second Doctor stories and everything like that in the beginning of 2020. Okay. And same with Torchwood. I'm rounding out season 3, and then I will pick it back up for season 4 in 2020. I obviously have not completely figured out exactly what my schedule is going to be, you know, as soon as I get back or anything like that, but I will let you guys know as soon as I know. Basically, I've had a lot of people ask me about how I'm going to approach the second Doctor stories and which ones I'm going to do, and all of that. And I genuinely, I need to look at it, and I haven't looked at it yet because I'm not really going to get into it until 2020. Okay, all right, cool. You will see videos on my channel in December. It's just I'm lightening my load ridiculously. The shows that are currently airing, I mean, you'll see a little bit of Torchwood as well because that's still going to be rounding out, but the shows that are currently airing, I am going to react to. That means His Dark Materials and Vikings. I am going to react to those, I think for the most part. So just, I know that I'm going to get hate for it. I know that people are going to be mad that, oh, you can do videos for His Dark Materials, you're not going to do videos for Classic Who, but you know, and normally when I take a break, I like to take a break off of like all of my shows. I don't really like to, you know, but I don't want to fall far behind on and have to play catch up with both His Dark Materials and Vikings when season 6 premieres. So that's why I'm just going to be doing those two kind of every week and within December, and I'm gonna take some time off and have some me time, because it didn't really work out that it's going to happen in January. So that's the update. I know that that was a long update, and I just like to explain thoroughly to you guys. I know a lot of people like have given me shit in the past of like, you talk way too much when you just want to do a quick update. Listen, I just like to explain thoroughly to you guys so you understand what's going on with me. Okay, let's get into the review. All right, so this was an interesting review. It was a little bit different than what I normally do, and all of that, because of the fact that when I did reviews before for Doctor Who, it was at the end of every season. I like my decision to do it at the end of every Doctor for Classic Who, but it's kind of funny because what I would do for New Who is I would rewatch every episode. I couldn't rewatch I did not have time. That's a lot of hours to put in to rewatch everything. I did rewatch some stuff. I rewatched like some of the stuff that that was years ago when I actually recorded my reactions to, such as, An Unearthly Child. If you guys don't know, if you join channel late. I did reactions to that story, but they got lost. The footage got kind of corrupted, or however you want to say that, and they're gone forever, much like classic Who episodes. All right, so let's just get right into it. I'm going to kind of talk a lot about the characters and the relationships first, and then we'll get into kind of the stories and all of that, okay? Okay, so, and as usual, I have my notebook right here, so I will be looking down a lot. I mean notes, okay? So, let's talk about the first Doctor. I actually think a lot of people say that there's not ton of like character growth in the earlier Doctors, in the sense of maybe what would be equivalent to maybe like, I think maybe the 12th Doctor, or some of the Doctors in New Who, where they've kind of actually had like pretty clear-cut arcs of where they went as a character. But I think that I would say that the first Doctor actually embodied that as well. And you can maybe attribute it a little bit more to the writers trying to find their footing, the writers trying to figure out exactly who the first Doctor was going to be. Maybe it wasn't the most intentional thing in the world, but I do think that he started off different than he ended in his era, so to speak. He definitely starts off as very cranky, stern, stubborn, you know, kind of all of these ideas and traits. But I think it's possible, if we're gonna attribute it to something, it's possible it's because he probably felt the need to be a bit more of an authoritative figure to Susan. And I feel like his demeanor when Susan is part of the TARDIS team to later on, and I will attribute that to a couple of things, but I definitely think he felt a certain very strong responsibility to Susan, and I think that is probably you can say that that's maybe where he gets a lot of those attributes from. But I also think that another reason is that he's very aware. I feel like in the first few episodes, he's very aware of how smart he is, how sharp his mind is. He knows that, and I think he has a bit of, you know, these humans can't tell me nothing. You know what I mean? Like, not exactly, but kind of like that. I think he doesn't, you know, I think in the beginning he doesn't trust Ian and Barbara fully, especially around Susan, somebody that he feels a love and a responsibility for. But he also just doesn't trust their intelligence, their street smarts, their any of that. I think he genuinely in the beginning really thinks that he knows better. And so that kind of lends to this sort of stubborn atmosphere that he's put out. You know what I mean? I feel like he kind of thinks something like, because of the fact that he's probably traveled a lot, he's seen a lot, he's been through a lot, that nobody else can really have a better, you know, like cannot have a better idea than he does on how to deal with a certain situation or something like that. I feel like that just happens in general as we all get older. And I don't know how old everybody is watching this, but like, as you know, when you're younger, it's so frustrating when like somebody who has experienced life a lot more says, "Oh, you don't know anything," or whatever. Like, it's such a frustrating term to hear, but then as you get older, you're like, they really don't know anything. Like, it's just, so I think that maybe it kind of relates to that whole vibe. But I think, you know, the first Doctor genuinely thought he was right most of the time, so he just really didn't need input, so to speak, which kind of really embellished the whole him being a little stubborn, a little stern, a little dismissive. You know what I mean? So when talking about that, I want to talk about Susan. I want to talk about obviously one of, I feel like has to be one of the most significant relationships with the Doctor just in history. Not just for the first Doctor, but definitely for the first Doctor as well. I liked how they set up the TARDIS team in the sense of personalities, and I'll get into that a little bit, but I really thought it worked really well in the case of kind of storytelling. He obviously has such a responsibility for her, and I liked the fact that Susan was a bit of a bridge, something like that, between the Doctor and Ian and Barbara. She kind of, you know, she explained things more to them. But she also had this like really great, like naive, I don't necessarily want to say naive, but it's kind of the word that comes to mind, like nature to her, youthful and not jaded, maybe. I guess that might be a little bit better. She really did, you know, she did know a lot of stuff about obviously the TARDIS and traveling with the Doctor and everything like that. So she, I think, was actually, as much as within like certain stories, a lot of times she screamed or got taken, or, you know, maybe she wasn't as useful as a companion as maybe Ian and Barbara were. I feel like she was so important to just the dynamic of the whole TARDIS team. I really loved, when I kind of looked back, that I feel like Doctor Who established very, very early on that the Doctor is obviously the main character in Doctor Who, but you can really make a case that the companion is probably maybe the more up in the forefront character sometimes. I guess it depends. But I loved that, you know, where the first episode, the whole first episode was really showcasing Susan. And Ian and Barbara as well, but Susan. I think that, you know, and even calling it an unearthly child. I think that that's very similar to, you know, New Who starting off with Rose. And we're going to put such a heavy focus on the companion. And I remember one of the first things that I really took away from even the first season of New Who is the fact that, you know, you can tell that the companion is, a lot of the times, the person that we need to see through their eyes. We need to, that they are kind of, they represent the audience in a sense. And we're kind of going on the journey with the companion, with this marvelous, magnificent Doctor. Now, obviously, Susan knew a lot more and got through that, you know, but I think it's a really great strategy, because I think it makes the Doctor mysterious. I think it keeps, we don't have to focus on the Doctor solely all the time, and you know, where, you know, the more you explain, the more he has a really wonderful sense of mystery around him, especially within the first episodes. I think he still does by the end of the first Doctor era. I mean, I just have a lot of knowledge of stuff just because I've gone through New Who, but, you know, like, I feel like there's still a ton of mystery, and I'm wondering where certain things are going to get brought up, and I'm excited to explore that as well. Susan really wanted to stay in London in the 60s, and I was curious as to why then. That she seemed pretty adamant about it. She didn't really want to, you know, in that first episode, she didn't want to go. But besides it being very convenient for the show's production, I mean, obviously that's probably the reason, but you know. Okay. I would have loved a story, an episode, whatever, that actually delved into the history of Susan and the Doctor. Now, I'm sure that there's a big Finish story. There's something, and there was something out there. But it would have been really cool to have really explored a bit of what happened in Gallifrey and what happened with the Doctor and Susan while Susan was still there. You know what I mean? And I feel like maybe something, all right, the thing that I really get from Susan and her character is the fact that she has a real yearning for I'm going to say normal in quotes, but you know, normal life. She kind of likes stability a bit. And I didn't really click and understand that until we got to her final episode. But you can kind of see throughout that there's quite a few examples of she's okay with the adventure. She likes the adventure. She's okay with the traveling or whatever. But you can tell every so often she does kind of have this sort of need for a family that's always going to be there. You know, she really clings to Ian and Barbara once they really travel together for a while. And she just wants some place to call home. Like it's pretty simple, I guess. I will say, as much as maybe I feel like for me, Susan's very much known for her screaming. There was that one reaction. I don't remember exactly which one, but I had a splitting headache and it was not fun. It was not fun dealing with Susan during that reaction. But I think that there's something, she has stepped up to the plate in various times. You know, I'm not really trying to detract that. I don't think she just screams or anything like that. I think she's actually pretty smart. And I wish that maybe they focused on her a little bit more, maybe her growing up a little bit more throughout her time in Doctor Who. And I do wonder, I wrote down this one question, which is kind of to myself, but if I would have related to Susan more if I watched this show when I was younger. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's possible that maybe I really would have related to her a whole lot more if I, you know, I feel like I'm older now. I'm a little bit, I'm not old, but I'm older, you know, and I'm not as, and I hate saying the word naive, but that's just what is coming to mind. And it's possible if I watched this when I was, you know, I don't know, younger, 13, 14 or whatever, I would have actually liked Susan more than Ian and I don't know. I don't know about that. It's a question. But like Ian and Barbara are like amazing, so I don't know. But I really liked the way that Susan's story ended. I think there was a lot of emotions with it. I feel like she really wanted a kind of a normal teenage life. And again, I say possibly because of what might have happened in the past. I don't really know, but that would be something that I would have loved for them to explore a little bit more. I feel like she misses home. She wants a home. It's just something that she talks about. And she had that moment in the Sensorites, where she, which by the way, I think is Susan's best story. in all of the ones that she was in. And you know, did she really feel guilty for a while of possibly wanting to break away from the doctor? You know, it's all she's known. Probably she's probably she has a sense of loyalty and all of that. But you know, in general, is that the only way that she will grow up, is if she's not, just looked after by the doctor? And even in the Dalek invasion of Earth, even David mentions that, she can't always run away from her problems. And I think that was really, I think she possibly had some inner turmoil for a while, just really wanting to be a little bit more stable. And then, this is just the way that I see it. And then traveling, it keeps you busy, it keeps you distracted, it keeps you, and you don't really address the fact that you're like, oh, I really want a home. This is what I really, really want deep down. I think she wanted independence. I think she had a bit of a struggle in her head of she wants to settle down, but she also really loves the doctor. She knows settling down does not really mesh with that. The doctor choosing for Susan is such a big moment for the doctor, for who he is. Probably one of the biggest moments, that he's had to do. It's like within a few scenes or an episode or whatever you want to call it, he really kind of figured out what she's yearning for, what she wants, and it's like it kind of clicked for him. He understood. And it's worse because he may never see her again. So I'm gonna pose some questions to you about Susan in general, in the sense of her ending. Do you think she was happy? Do you think that this is what she really wanted? Because if you think about it, he really did choose for her, so there is a possibility that she was not 100% down for what he chose. And that's kind of tough to think about. Like, what if she didn't end up happy? She only knew David for what if, oh God. I don't really want to think about that. Or do you think that she wished that she would continue to travel with the doctor? Do you think that it was he was a little quick to jump on that decision? Let me know. Okay, so now I am going to get into just the best part of this, and that's Ian and Barbara. I'm so excited. Okay, so yes, the doctor was a bit stern, especially because of Susan being there and all of that stuff. But he also didn't really, trust his companions at that time, as I've talked about. Okay, let me just get into this because I wrote a lot and it's going to be a long review. Here we go. Ian and Barbara, I feel like were most likely written as characters to have kind of a human perspective when traveling with the doctor. And I actually absolutely loved, this is what I was mainly talking about with how they characterized everybody in this. It's just a very well-made TARDIS team. We've got the doctor who's seen a lot, experienced a lot, and is probably a little bit, stubborn about it, whatever. We've got Susan, who is kind of the wide-eyed, oh my God, like kind of person, but she's also an alien. I love the fact that the two humans going on this journey are strong, capable, smart, They're not like sitting around. I mean, they've had their moments where they didn't, you know, where when Barbara's like the dog's coming for her and she's like, oh my God, or whatever, you know, like, but in general, they really stepped up to the plate. They're strong, level-headed people. They didn't portray the humans of the show as like, I don't know, like super dumb and the doctor's always right. They really, you know, made great characters and kind of made a really great dynamic with that. I feel like Ian and Barbara added a sense of usefulness when traveling with the doctor, whether it was physical or mental. A lot of times any physical confrontations, though, there were times when the doctor got down with the fit. Like, he fucked some people up. I was impressed. But a lot of times any physical confrontation, you know, Ian normally stepped up to the plate. But nonetheless, they had these sort of, you know, they were very useful throughout their time. And I've harped on that a lot in my reactions. And I really love them as companions because they're fucking useful. Sorry. To curse. At the start, I feel like there was a lot of debates between Ian and Barbara and the doctor. You know, this was before any trust or even love or whatever you want to call it was established between them. I believe, and you can, maybe that this is not how you see it, that's okay. How I see it is that, you know, Ian and Barbara really softened up the doctor when it comes to how he acts with companions. I really genuinely do believe that they proved themselves to him, like, just time and time again, and it was just how it, I don't know, I just really think that they were really integral, I can't talk, in how the doctor really, you know, views his companions and trusts people and stuff going forward. So do you guys think that he didn't trust anybody in general? Do you think it was because he was so much older than them in that sense? Or do you think that he was just extra cautious around people because Susan was there? It's just probably a mixture of those, maybe. Watching the moments, and there's always these like little moments throughout the entire show where the doctor grows closer to either Ian and Barbara, are absolutely some of my favorite moments in the first Doctor's run. It is the best. I love seeing a strong family vibe build up with people who maybe are at odds at first, and them getting an understanding of one another. Just like something that I just personally really, really love. And I feel like you guys know this about me. Like, I love human nature. I love whenever people or shows like focus on character development and the people in it. And I love when I see people like find common ground and get past some maybe earlier judgments or whatever you want to call it. And I just really love that aspect of this. I think Barbara's warmth and Ian's dependability really helped with all of this. But genuinely, after a while, like, who wouldn't fall in love with Ian and Barbara? I'm just curious. Oh, here's a good question. Does anybody watching this not like Ian and Barbara? I'm genuinely curious, and it's fine. Listen, we all don't need to like the same characters, the same people, or whatever. But like, I genuinely want to know if there is actually a group of people that were like, ugh, Ian and Barbara were just not for me. They were not my type of companions. I'm genuinely curious. So please, sound off in the comments if you're like, they're not it. So let me know. Okay. I feel like throughout the series, the two of them have really learned a lot. Obviously, the Aztecs was a big one for that, but I just feel like, in general, they did learn, they grew, they understood things. They experienced so much with even like the Daleks and stuff like that, but throughout it all, they really did stay true to their character and their bond with each other, and I really, really loved that about them. They really did. People who really do have that kind of stable moral character, I really like that about them. Oh, and okay, so the next, sorry, I'm reading and I wrote down a lot. All right. I wanted to ask, which story was the first for you that you saw the Doctor and Ian and Barbara really trust each other, really work as a team, really become a family? What do you think was that story for you guys? Okay. I definitely feel like Ian and Barbara paved the way for many other companions after them. I feel like their just responsibility and the Doctor's respect for them and everything like that was such an important thing for the Doctor's relationships with other companions later on. But they also set such a high standard that it's tough for other companions, in my opinion, to live up to them. So people have asked me like a couple times in videos and stuff like that, like where do the companions all rank on a, like if I listed them, or who's my favorite and everything like that. And I don't have like a full list in mind. I don't really know. There's been so many companions and so many people that I've loved. But I mean, just let's be clear, Ian and Barbara are really far up at top of the list for all time so far of what I've seen. And if for some reason you're new with watching this video, that's New Who and the 8th Doctor, I guess, the movie, and the First Doctor stories. I think there's a very strong chance that Barbara is my favorite female companion. I think it's her and Donna that would be fighting for that top spot, but I think Barbara edges her out. I know, and that's probably a lot of you are like, what, you're crazy. But I love Barbara. And Ian's right at the top too. Obviously, you guys know how I feel about Mickey. It's a thing. So he snags of it. But then there's like Ian and Rory, and I'm like, I know those. Oh my God. Could you imagine Ian and Rory like being your backup in any situation? Any of the Doctors. And like, I mean, the best, right? Like the best. I'm just writing new seasons. All right, so let's go into some of the other companions. Obviously, I feel like that particular TARDIS team, Susan, Ian, Barbara, and the First Doctor, are very iconic. But he had other companions, and I'm gonna touch on them. So let's talk about Vicky. Let's talk about Susan's replacement. And I put that in quotes because I don't really see her like that, but it seems like that's basically why the show wanted, you know, her, or a character that was like her. You know what I mean? Okay. So I feel like Vicky is a very underrated character or companion in Doctor Who history. Now, I actually don't know sometimes what the reception of characters are, but I feel like she's pretty underrated. I think the chemistry between Vicky and the First Doctor is undeniable. It's amazing. I think it was she was a wonderful companion to come right after Susan, because he felt a connection to her. He felt a responsibility for her. He had this kind of but he wasn't as authoritative. He didn't feel the same exact responsibility. He cared what happened to Vicky. He wanted to look out for Vicky. Like, don't twist my words or anything, but it wasn't the exact same thing as his own granddaughter. You know what I mean? And I feel like that moment with Susan, where he kind of decides for her, he lets her take a path that maybe she wants to without him overlooking the whole time, that it helped him be better at giving other younger companions a bit of independence. But it would be kind of a disservice to Vicky's characters to kind of say that that was the only reason why. I think a lot of what Vicky handled herself in situations, she was not the typical damsel in distress or whatever, and I think that, you know, the doctor really noticed that for with Vicky in particular. Sorry, I lost my place. I feel like Vicky was very strong, but she had a nice bubbly personality. She had a youthful outlook, and I feel like her energy was exactly what the show needed. I feel like she brought a really, really great energy to the show. I'm still not satisfied with her exit. And the more I think about it, the more I don't like it. I really would have loved if Vicky left the show or whatever in order to, like, I don't know, start a revolution or do something, and not for a guy. There's nothing wrong with that. There really isn't, but it's just not how I envisioned what Vicky's exit would be. So take that as it is. I feel like the episodes with Vicky, the doctor had a way more lighthearted type of personality or approach, whereas with Susan it was a lot more stern. So it did seem like the show kind of had a little bit of a shift in mood after Susan left and Vicky came. Whichever one you like, that's, you know, personal preference, but I'm just saying it felt a little bit different. Okay, Steven. I actually really, really like Steven. But I think he might be one of the examples of when I say, like, I feel like Ian and Barbara probably paved the way for some other companions to have it a lot easier. I feel like he would have had to deal with the first Doctor's grumpiness, sternness, all of that, if Barbara and Ian really didn't break that barrier down first, you know what I mean? I really liked how Steven and the Doctor grew to have a very strong mutual respect for one another, even though Steven was very skeptical. He was a very, very skeptical guy, and maybe the Doctor didn't agree with that as much, but I think he understood it. Like, I think it was okay. And I just feel like when I watched this and or read a lot of it, honestly, because a lot of Steven's stories I read, I just felt like there was a really great team aspect with him and the Doctor. The Doctor didn't feel the need to have to be overlooking Steven's every move, which I think was kind of great. And I personally loved the Daleks' master plan, and I only read it, you know what I mean? I think it just solidified the Doctor and Steven's relationship, and like I said, mutual respect for one another. I would absolutely love to see the Dalek master plan remade. I think it would be a great story to remake and do like a little mini series or something, or something where you know, all new actors, and just do the damn thing. You know what I mean? I feel like it's such a wonderful story. It's a heartbreaking story, and it's a tragic story. There's some serious shit in there. And I think, like, full disclosure, I did not pick it as one of my top 5 stories in the era, but maybe if I did see it executed, like, visually, it might have been up there. Okay. And, oh, just so you guys know, I made a little note here. The Mission to the Unknown, I know that it was remade. One of my subscribers actually, like, worked on it, maybe various, I don't know, but I will be reacting to it, but right now I'm trying to slow down with my schedule. I will get to it. It's on the list. You guys are just please bear with me just a little bit when it comes to, getting some of these reactions out. I do want to take it easy for a little bit and just regroup before we hit the ground running at the beginning of January. Okay? So just throwing that out there. Cool. All right. Now I'm going to talk about Dodo. Okay. Oh boy. The problem with Dodo, that's good. Many of her stories are missing, or a few. But the same could be said for Stephen. And I got a vibe of who Stephen was. I really did. I got an idea of who he was. I thought he was written very well. And my issue with Dodo is that I never really got a sense of who she was, other than, and I hate to say this, but like a stand-in for a young girl character, you know what I mean? Like, because I feel like that was kind of the vibe with Doctor Who back then. There was always, for the most part, a younger female youthful character. And I just don't know. She just never really connected to me. I didn't feel like she was developed. And I didn't feel like there was a strong focus on her. So I can't really comment too much on her. I can't. And her, like, exit was so, like, she was like, okay, bye. Like, it was so weird. She quite possibly takes the spot as my least favorite companion. Just because, like, I don't know who she is. I don't know. She had some sass, and I know a little, yeah, obviously I saw a bit of her personality and everything, but I really didn't get a clear handle on who she was supposed to be, or anything like that. So I feel bad, but I don't have a ton of thoughts on Dodo. And now we're just going to end going through all these companions with Ben and Polly. I'm about Ben and Polly. Now it's early. Maybe I won't like them. Well, I actually don't. Are they going to continue? I don't know. Don't answer that. Please don't answer that. But I take the question back. But I genuinely don't know if they're going to continue past the regeneration. Because, like, sometimes companions do, and sometimes they don't. And they're like, bye. And then they start, so I really don't know, but I do like them. They seem like a mash between, like, the younger companions and, like, Ian and Barbara and Steve. Like, they're just, they put them all together, and it's like they have this youthful vibe to them, but they're also super capable. They know what they're doing. They're really smart, all of that stuff. Sorry. I love how they showcase kind of the different approaches to, like, time traveling with the Doctor. Polly, so far, from what I've seen, she has a bit of a love for adventure. She's, like, about it. She's excited. And Ben is like, I want to go home. Like, let's go back to the TARDIS. No. And she's got this love for adventure. He's got this cautious nature about him. And if played right, again, they may leave and to die in the next episode. I have no idea. But they could actually learn from each other and grow. And that makes me really excited. I feel like there are two great characters that can actually learn a lot from each other. She can get him out of his comfort zone, and he can kind of maybe ground her a little bit, you know what I mean? And I love that about the dynamic between the two. I really, really do. So I have high hopes for Ben and Polly if they stay on. Obviously, you guys know I'm more of I'm on the Ben side of things, but I love Polly. Like, I live for her, so I'm ready. Hopefully they don't leave. Okay. So let's get into kind of the stories. Obviously, I'm not going to go through every single story. We'd be here forever. I'm just going to talk in general, and then I'm going to get into my top 5 favorite stories of the First Doctor, which I think some might surprise you. I'm not sure. We're going to see how this goes. Okay. The difference, obviously there's differences between, what you get used to with New Who and Classic Who. But I also will say New Who is a bit different depending on the showrunner or whatever, you know what I mean. But definitely I feel like there wasn't super long arcs throughout the First Doctor's era or whatever. But with some of the stories that were longer, like the Daleks' Master Plan, I mean, that's a long arc. It's just, it happened all in the same story, but you know what I mean. So, I really, as much as like maybe there wasn't a full-on arc for his whole era, I feel like, one, he grew as a person, and I think that there were kind of plots, possibly self-contained into stories, but they were really drawn out and executed and detailed. So it's not completely, like a Monster of the Week show, in my opinion. You know what I mean? I think that there was a great mixture of serious stories and comedic stories, and I feel like New Who has done that as well. If you look at some of the really great seasons, there's some that are maybe a little funnier, sillier, campier, whatever you want to call it, and then there's some really serious ones that really tug on the heartstrings. And I think the First Doctor stories are exactly the same. I feel like they're not that different from that. And there was I feel like a lot of moments where I felt like it was very serious and dealing with very adult themes and strong issues. I was pleasantly surprised by all of that. And it wasn't just silly, like a weird alien and no substance to the plot. You get what I'm saying? Even, if you look at like the comedic episodes, I mean, it was very rare that there was a story that I was like, oh, that wasn't my favorite. Almost, I would say every story had some like great substance to it. It was, maybe some weren't as well thought out as others. You guys know what story I'm talking about, but but I feel like there was definitely so much to I'm not entirely sure I agree with people who say I just can't get into Classic Who. Everybody has their own thing. I'm not judging. If you're not into Classic Who, that's all you or whatever, but I for one have loved it. And I really want a historical story in New Who where there isn't an alien twist. I want a kind of rough and tough historical story in New Who. So bad. Because some of the ones, I feel like with the Aztecs or the Reign of Terror, I feel like there were some really great historical stories that was just like, we're in this time and we're not going to have a twist. with it that there's an alien here the whole time, or you know, whatever it is. And it's just them surviving during that time, and what that means and what that does. I really would love to see something like that. I don't really have a you know, period of time in mind, but I really would like to see that. Obviously the Time Meddler was probably a little bit different. There was but they, you know, it was a good, I feel like there's more payoff when they do have a twist in it, when not all historical stories have some, you know what I'm saying? You guys know what I'm saying. Okay. The one thing that I would like to improve, if we're going to be practical, we're going to talk about like actual effects and stuff. And listen, I love the cheesiness. You know, I laugh at it, but I'm down for it. I love the crazy like alien costumes. I'm down for a lot of it. The one thing that I need to change for the next Doctor's era or whatever is the like distortion to the voices of the aliens so bad that I don't know what the hell they're saying. Okay, there's been a couple of times, and you guys know if you watch my reaction, there's been a couple of times where I'm like, that alien is talking and I don't know. I'm inferring kind of what the alien is saying by reading everybody else's faces around, or like a robot or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? We need to tone that down a little bit, okay? I'm fine with the crazy costumes. I'm fine with the silly visuals. I live for it. I'm excited. This is classic Who, okay? I'm ready, but that's the one thing that I need. I need to understand what's going on. I need, like, it was only a couple of times, but it happened. So that's just, if you guys are curious as to what I really hope for in the future, it's not the, like, just, I want to understand what's going on. Okay, let's get into my top 5 First Doctor stories. Oh my God, guys. I think some of these you're going to be like, yes, general consensus. And like me, you guys know, I always like to, there's always some story that everybody loves that I'm like not as into. The main example of that is The Girl in the Fireplace. I've rewatched it many times and I don't, it's just not my thing. Anyway, but then there's some stories that everybody's like, this is the worst thing that I've ever seen in Doctor Who. And I'm like, I loved it. Love and Monsters. So just so you guys know, it's, you know, I feel like it's gonna, that trend just keeps continuing. I'm not just gonna say something's good because everybody else says it's good. I'm gonna go with my actual personal taste. Write down below what your top 5 stories are for the First Doctor, and I'm just gonna get into mine and give a little bit of reasons why. But obviously, I kind of went in depth with a lot of these in their reactions and everything. Okay, number 5 is the Aztecs. Obviously, I really love. I loved that story. I feel like it really showcased, you know, kind of the depth of what a historical story can really be in classic Who. It set a really great precedent for that. It was very brilliant, and there was just such a wonderful focus on both Ian and Barbara, specifically, I would say specifically Barbara in this story, of her kind of understanding why you can't, you know, frack around with events in history and stuff like that. And we kind of had a cool vibe of all of that, and I just really genuinely, yeah, I really, really love it. I think I loved the little relationship between Doctor and that woman, and there was a lot of like kind of little subplots that I felt like were really, really great. And it's a great classic Who story, hands down. I love it. It was kind of the peak of me really starting to love Ian and Barbara so much. I already loved them, but, you know, like really loved them. I feel like it was a great story for them. And I just really enjoyed it. Okay, number 4. Number 4 is the 10th planet. A lot of the reason of Now, my issue with the 10th planet, which I said in the reaction, was the fact that, and this isn't really the show's fault, but that the first Doctor was not as prevalent in his final story. Like, I was kind of hoping to see a little bit more of him during this, but I get it. He was sick and there was things going on, so that's not anybody's fault. But this like has to be on the list because it's just the legendary factor, okay? It's the end of the first Doctor era. It's the end, it is the end of an era. At least I feel like that on my channel. I've been reacting to when I did An Unearthly Child, it was a few years ago. It's been quite a long journey with big breaks up until this year, but nonetheless a long journey. And I'm gonna miss this era, and I'm excited for the next one, but I'm gonna miss it. But also, you guys know how I feel about Cybermen stories. I love the Cybermen. They're probably my favorite Doctor Who villain. I love them. I think that their stories are great because they, as I said during the reaction, it's just, I feel like they put such a strong focus on humanity when we deal with the Cybermen who lack humanity. But the stories in general really showcase the importance of humanity, and they did that in the importance of life, and they did that in this with the guys stuck up there, and then the tragedy of all of that. Like, I just really liked a lot of aspects of this. You guys know how I feel about the Cybermen. You guys know so, and I just love those stories. Time and time again, whenever there's like a Cyberman story, I feel like I really love it. Obviously some are better than others, but they're just, love them. Okay. Number 3 is actually The Edge of Destruction. There is something that I really love about this story, and it's short, it's 2 parts, it's quick, but I love the fact that it takes place in the TARDIS, and it really focused on the characters' interactions and what's going on with the characters. You guys know that I love some character development stuff. Like, I love it. I live for it. It's just my favorite. I would rather have and you don't have to agree with this. Most people probably wouldn't, but I would rather have a really great character arc than an immaculate plot arc. Does that make sense? Like, I care a lot about human nature, and that's the stuff that I really hone in on. And I feel like there was a showcasing of that in this episode. Everyone's kind of still learning how to trust one another, and it was just, I feel like it was just such a breakthrough episode for this TARDIS team, and such great moments on the bad side and on the good side. And I really, really, really loved that story a lot. Even if it's short. I loved it. Okay. By the way, I'll say that at the end. Okay. Number 2. This is going to be one that I feel like this is the one. This is the one that you guys are going to be like, really? But like, really? Number 2 is The Keys of Marinus. I know. I love it. I love it. I remember when I was watching it, I was like, wow, Classic Who is really good, because it was like the first one that I watched when I started like this year of reactions and stuff. And I was like, wow, I love this. Okay. I think it's a great story to start somebody off with Classic Who. It's a little bit longer, so they get kind of used to the fact that these stories take time. But it had everything. I love it. I love the fact that there was an overlying arc, but each episode was kind of different, and each episode focused on a different character's strengths. In one, like, Barbara was the best, and the other, the Ian, and the first Doctor, and it was like, the Screaming Jungle, and then there was a court case, and then it was like the best of Doctor Who. The fact that within every episode you can be in a different place, and they had some like really serious moments with the stuff in the cold place, and there was some shit in that episode, and like They had some serious moments, they had some lighthearted moments there, and it was really, I mean, this team really coming through together at the end. I love them. This was amazing. I cannot express how much I love this story. And it had that guy falling through the, I don't know what it was, but it was one of the best effects I've ever seen in my life. Loved it. But yeah, I just genuinely, that it's gonna be that story, I feel like, for the First Doctors, within the First Doctor stories, and I'm gonna be like, that's like my, like, I love it. It's deep in my heart there. It's just amazing. Okay. Number one is the Dalek invasion of Earth. I can't say anything's better than that. I absolutely can't. I think it's an impeccable story. I think it showed some of the horrors of the Daleks and actually made them scary. I've said this since the first episode that I ever saw with a Dalek. I don't find Daleks very scary, and sometimes maybe that's how they're written or whatever. I will say, the people that say that New Who particularly has made Daleks silly, I agree with the sentiment that they should go watch The Chase. You should just see it. Throwing it out there. Anyway, but this story made the Daleks scary. Made them actual real villains, and like, I just loved it. We not only focused on the TARDIS team, everybody was great in the story, but we were rooting for characters that we met along the way. And there was this like dark and horrifying focus that really made us root for the humans. And we were like, let's fuck up them Daleks. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, probably it's the slogan for the episode. But like, you're really sitting there and you're like, this is some shit. They're like, all of this stuff that these people are going through. Let's revolt. Let's do, like, we have to fight. And I really just loved the way that they were able to just create that atmosphere for us as an audience. And I mean, all of that amazing, but pair that with quite possibly probably the most beautiful and heartbreaking and moving scenes of the entire run with the First Doctor, with everything that happened with Susan. You know, like, I cried, and it was just, that is how you do an exit. And I was like, you know, I really 100% didn't think that like Classic Who would get to me on that level, and it did. I mean, I cried when like Ian and Barbara left. Of course, obviously, they're my people, but that was more of the case of like, I love them so much and now they're gone and now I'm sad. Where with Susan's exit, I feel like it was written very well and written very beautifully. So I think it's a masterpiece. I think it's amazing. I just think it's the best story in the First Doctor's era, according to me. But I know that some of you really like a lot of the other ones. Some of you say that the Time Meddler, I love that one too. But I just and the one that just missed the cut was the Daleks. I really do like that story, but something had to miss the cut. Okay, there's a lot of really great stories, and it's hard to just narrow them down in that sense. So I just have a couple of things that I want to talk about. I'm just going to wrap up by talking about the First Doctor and William Hartnell in the role. I said a lot at the end of the 10th Planet reaction, so I'm not going to dive into it too much. This is a long video, as it is. But I really, really loved him as the Doctor. Once I go through all of Classic Who, I don't know where everybody's going to land on the list. I don't really know with my ranking, but right now, the First Doctor, I think... The First Doctor and the Eighth Doctor are like tied for third place of my favorite doctors currently. So that's where I probably would put the first Doctor above the eighth Doctor. I really like the eighth Doctor though. I did. But I didn't have as much time with the eighth Doctor. Something I'll have to think about. But yeah, and if you guys don't know, first is 11 and second is 12. I would figure you guys knew that. But I just am, man, I really loved him. I thought he was so, I've said this so many times, but the fact that he was so grouchy, but so lovable at the same time, that is not easy to pull off. Okay. It really is not. And I adored this time with the first Doctor. Absolutely. And yeah, I'm going to end the review portion there. And I just want to talk a little bit about some stuff just like coming up with, you know, or decisions I've made with the channel when it comes to this year basically regarding like Doctor Who December and everything like that. But if you guys don't care about that stuff or whatever, I already did the updates at the beginning of this video. You can shut off the video here. I just want to talk to you guys and be a little bit, just explain stuff and let you guys know how I'm feeling about things and everything. So, okay. You know, I've talked about, you know, I decided to not do a Doctor Who December this year. And I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about, sorry, I'm just going to adjust my, there we go. I'm just going to talk a little bit about why and all of that, in case some of you guys don't know, because I do get questions about it. I do still get requests for it. Like I get comments still, and I've tried to make it as known as I can throughout this year that I'm not doing one, but I think some people just think I'm lying, or they didn't get the memo or something like that, because they're like, you should do this reaction for your December thing, and I'm like, I'm really not doing it this year. If you, and any of you guys who have actually followed my channel and watched the videos where I talk a lot and talk about my feelings and everything that's going on, if you guys watched the video that I had when I came back at the beginning of this year and just talked about my feelings towards my channel and stuff like that, I kind of made a promise to myself at the beginning of this year that I was just going to, I was gonna give myself a little bit of a break this year. In the sense I was gonna take it easy and not get so, like, put such heavy workloads onto my plate. And it's a tough decision to make to not do Doctor Who December. It was really hard. Now, there's a couple of reasons why. One reason is just I want whenever I do some event like that on my channel, and whether it's a Walking Dead content or Doctor Who December or anything like that, when I do something like that, I want it to be good. I want it to be amazing. I put a lot of effort into the videos. I know a lot of them are reactions, but the stuff that isn't and stuff like that, I put so much effort, and I still have a handful, I will say, of ideas that are, I think, brilliant videos that I was supposed to do for the last Doctor Who December, but I had to nix just because I didn't have time to execute them the way that I wanted to. And I'm not going to half-ass these videos for you guys. I'm just not going to do it. But you know, 31 videos, you get, whew, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. I just throwing that out there. It's a lot. So I don't want to put out something that's not something that you guys are going to be really excited about. I want to make sure that it's good. I want to make sure that the ideas are good. I want to make sure that from day 1 to day 31, it is like good videos after good videos after good videos, and you guys are excited for the whole thing. And I have been struggling with some stuff personally, and I don't, you know, that's whatever. That's not an excuse for anything. I'm not going to harp on that or anything like that, but I have been, and I had some issues with last year, particularly in the 2018, the amount of effort that I put into a lot of stuff in my channel, and I really killed myself a bit, like to get certain things out. And I'm not saying that just for Dr. December. I think there's a lot of different things that I did throughout the year, and adding an extra show when I shouldn't have, and like all of this stuff. But I made a promise to myself at the beginning of this year that like, I'm just take a year to look after yourself. Do what you got to do for your channel. But I really did not. I'm such a hard worker that, and I don't mean to sound conceited when I say that. We all have things, sometimes I'm a hard worker to a fault, to be honest, but, and I just care about hard work so much, and I care about everything being perfect and everything, that I really didn't realize that like it kind of all of this stuff can kind of take a toll on me. So that is just me explaining kind of one of the reasons why I really didn't want to, I wanted to give myself a year where I really, looked after myself, and one where I can actually enjoy the holidays. Like I can go to like, I don't know, I can do stuff. Like, I don't think I don't want to say that you guys do, because some of you know exactly probably how many hours I would put into a Doctor Who December or whatever. Like, I know that some of you know that it's a lot, but I had zero free time, and I would even be I would be up within the few 4 days that I'm visiting my family that I don't get to see because I live far away or whatever. I would have to go away for like hours at a time and edit videos and stuff like that, because first of all, I don't regret anything. I love Doctor Who December. It's my favorite, and it is the thing that I am most proud of in my channel, like 100%. Like both of them. The first one was really great, and the second one was wonderful, and I just like genuinely, absolutely but it took a lot out of me. And because we didn't get a ton of like new content this year, though I do have some great ideas lined up that I can't wait for you guys to see, and everything for certain videos at some point or whatever, I don't know what you want to call it, but I needed a break. And I know some of you are like, you really don't have to explain this to us. I know that. But I just kind of wanted to let you guys know. I like letting you guys know what's in my headspace. I don't want to talk about this shit. Okay. I do realize, I feel like there's a part of me, I'm gonna get emotional. I'm fine. Whew. I feel like there's a part of me that feels like so bad that I'm not doing one this year, because it's like something that you guys have been really excited for and you guys love it. And I get, I can tell that like there's a lot of stuff that I feel like you guys genuinely really enjoy it, and I get a lot of positive feedback. And for whenever I've done, Doctor Who December in a big event like that for Doctor Who, I know that you guys appreciate it. Like, don't get me wrong, I know that for a fact, and I feel bad because it's like, I feel like, though I 100% have like made the decision and made peace with the decision that I really need to put myself first this holiday season and give myself a little bit of a break, it kind of breaks my heart that like I'm not doing that for you guys. Because I feel like there's some people who really, really looked forward to every day, and I don't know. Anyway. So it's just, it's hard, but like when you're just one person, it's like, you know, it's tough to do all of that all at once. And, you know, in the past years when I did Doctor Who December, I started filming the first year. I got a little bit better at managing it the second year, but the first year I started filming around October, some of them. And I legitimately, in between reactions, I would put Christmas decorations up, and then I would take them off if I was like recording something else for October, like some other, and then I would put them back up for Doctor Who December, and then I would take them down again. Like it was insane. I was insane. And you know, I just needed some time off this year. Even if it's not like me taking months off at a time or anything. It was just giving myself a little bit of a lighter schedule and being kinder to myself when it comes to my schedule. But it breaks my heart that like I'm not doing it, and I just wanted to talk about that. I wanted to kind of get that out there and let you guys know that I wish that I could just do it every year on top of a full schedule. But I think if maybe I had a lighter schedule throughout the rest of the year, it would be a lot easier. But I react to a lot of shows throughout the whole year, and so, you know, 2 of which are in the Doctor Who universe with Torchwood and Classic Who. But that, you know, anyway. But yeah, I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about the fact that I'm a little bit sad about it, and I feel bad, and, you know, all that stuff. I just wanted to explain myself, I guess. And the other thing that I wanted to just talk about very briefly is I'm a little nervous, I'm not gonna lie, about being caught up to, I feel like with New Who particularly, I've had my little, I call it my little corner of the internet, my little nook in the internet that, like, those of you who have been here since like the beginning and like stuck with me, those of you who stuck with me even when I like wasn't super about like the first 2 seasons of Doctor Who, and you guys stuck with me, and then the people who have come and enjoyed like my reactions to some of the stuff with the 10th Doctor and the 11th Doctor and the 12th Doctor and my Doctor Who Decembers and all of this stuff, or some of you who have just joined me for Classic Who. I feel like this really close-knit like vibe with you guys. And I'm a little worried that that's just gonna get blown right out of the water as soon as I start reacting to stuff that's current. Because then that's when people just start searching for recent episodes that have just aired, and then I'm just nervous. I'm just nervous that I don't know. It's just nerve-wracking. It kind of happens with any show that like if you catch up to date, then you get a bunch of people that aren't, I don't know, that I feel like I've made this like close-knit community, and now it's there's gonna be all sorts of people coming into my comment section being very opinionated, and I'm a little nervous about it. It's gonna be interesting. But nonetheless, I'm excited to get into New Who with you guys. I'm excited to finish up Torchwood, and I'm excited to get into the 2nd Doctor once the new year rolls around and all of that stuff. I hope that you guys have an amazing holiday season, and yeah, I talked for way too long. I'm so sorry. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.